Okay, so we're going to talk about the three main phases of a new disruptive tech and also the diffusion of innovation. So this may sound or may look very weird and complex, but it's really, really simple as we break things down. So let's start with the three main phases of a new disruptive tech. Now, this green line, obviously this is a chart of price over time, and the green line here, as you can see, is going up. Now, if you look closely, you can see there's a bit of a bubble here. So market goes from doing absolutely diddly bugger all to massive bubble, most of it a massive crash, and then eventually over the long run, it then goes to whatever silly level it may be. And this is what tends to happen with new disruptive tech. So for example, let's take cryptocurrencies. It started really in 2009 with the introduction of Bitcoin, and it didn't transition into the next phase until about 2016. Okay, and so this first phase here is what I call the punt phase. And it's called the punt phase because you don't know whether, because if you put money into anything within the punt phase, you don't know whether this asset or this investment vehicle or tech is going to last 2 minutes or 200 years. You simply don't know. And it's a case of Betamax versus VHS, if you remember that. But then when something crosses over from the punt phase, it then enters the speculation phase. So speculation. So when something enters the speculation phase, this is when we know that it's here to stay. So it's Betamax versus VHS. Oh, cool. We now know what we're playing with is VHS. And so what then happens is that because the whole marketplace over the period of anywhere from 6 months to 12 months goes, wow, okay, this is here to stay. It's no longer a punt. That's when you start seeing talent, capital, and everything being drawn towards it, because humans are very curious by nature. So that is why you will always see a bubble, a short-term speculative bubble forming in the speculation phase. And that's where we are now. So we're sat here at 2018, Q1 2018, and we are, I know I've put 2016 here, but we are still here, okay? We're pretty much exactly bang on over here. Although there's lots of hype and publicity around it, we're nowhere near peak bubble, which is all the way up here. We still have a couple of years, or I'd say about 18 months. My money, if I were to put money on it, I'd say sort of towards the end of 2019. However, in later videos, I'm going to show you why putting a time on stuff like this is a futile thing. So yeah, don't do that. You need to gauge it by market cap, which we'll cover later. So yeah, that's the speculation phase, where you have crazy blow off tops, and then all goes Pete Tong, or shit tong as I like to say. And then only once the market has popped and things resume back to normal and the volatility disappears, that's when it then goes into the established phase. And it's here where you start to see really big money, pension funds, stuff like that, going, okay, this is a cool asset, we'll put a smaller or a small percentage of our money in. And then over time, where let's say 20 plus years, the price grows to something ridiculous. So if we look at Amazon has been called a bubble all of its life, as you know, and it started way back in the late 90s at $8 a share. It peaked, in fact, with Amazon, there are loads of mini bubbles along the way. It went from $8 to 100, back down to 10. But basically, after the popping, so i.e. the tech bubble crash, it sort of bottomed at around sort of, I think off the top of my head, about $40. As I stand here now, Amazon is $1,100 a share. So that's basically what I see in the future for crypto. So hopefully that makes sense with the three phases. We are well and truly, or not well and truly, we are in the speculation phase right now. So that's when you see all of the shenanigans and shit, pretty much. Now, something else we need to talk about is the diffusion of innovation. And we have basically this is a bell curve of adoption. And what we have over here are the innovators. So let's use this one. So I'm just going to write sideways, so hopefully you can see. So here we have the innovators. And these are the people that set it up, they adopt it, they embrace it straight away. And this is so unprofessional, but I forgot to turn my phone off. There we go. So you have the innovators. So that's 2.5% of the market. And over here, then we have the early adopters. So we have early adopters. Now, with a new market, early adopters are very easy to come by. I mean, these are people, you don't need to sell to them, they just get it. These are the people that will camp outside an Apple store for a couple of days before a new product is being launched, even though they probably haven't got a clue what the product is. These are really easy to find. So as a company doing marketing or an industry, yeah, it's not hard. But there is a thing here called the chasm. And the chasm is basically a bit of an area where if you do not breach, if the product doesn't get past the chasm or the gap, it's doomed for failure, or hit this and then die a slow death and maybe come back later. If you look at virtual reality, I think that hit the chasm back in the 90s. I remember playing with a virtual reality thing in Great Yarmouth Promenade, as in the arcades, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. But what did VR then go and do? It just buggered off. And it's only now in sort of 2018 plus, we're now starting to get really cool VR kit. So yeah, I think it hit the chasm, then died. So after the early adopters, you then have a thing called the early majority. And it's when the early majority pile in, that's where it's all over the place. Things go crazy. And then you get the late majority. And last but not least, you have the laggards. These are people that would still have dialing, you know those old circular telephones where you have to dial it and you have to spin it around, whatever they're called. They'd still have them if you could, but yeah, they probably don't even have mobile phones. Or if they did, it would be like a Nokia 3210 or something. So they are the different sort of, this is the curve of diffusion of innovation. Now the thing to understand is that innovators and early adopters, they'll just do it. They'll just adopt it, it's fine, that's really easy. And the early majority will not get into a market until they've seen successes or features and benefits that the early adopters are showing off. And the thing is, the late majority won't go anywhere near anything until the early majority are in. It's a cascading effect, and then the laggards will, yeah, it's like dealing with your in-laws. So, and that's that. And if you were to basically draw a chart of market adoption in terms of percentages, let's say up here is 100%, nothing ever hits 100% full adoption. What you'll see is something like this, where you may get anywhere from, 90% to 60%, something like that. So yeah, in terms of cryptos, innovators, early adopters, we're here yet. We are here. In fact, we're somewhere still probably around anywhere in this area here in terms of cryptos, but the early majority are not here yet. Hell, I went to, so I live in Norfolk. I went to a pub not far away called the Bridge Inn for some food, and I went to pay the bill at the bar, and I was wearing a cheesy shirt, and it said, keep calm and hodl Neo. Now, you probably at this moment won't understand what that means, but this guy, the bar guy, he was anywhere between 20 to 30 years old, no idea. In fact, Matty's really young, but he looks like he could be 30. How old are you, Matty?
22.
22. Oh my God. Yeah, so I had no idea. It's between 20 and 30. He looks a lot like Matty, actually. Tall, dark, maybe handsome. Yeah. And he was like, what does all that mean? I was like, what? And then, yeah, he pointed to the shirt. What does hodler or hodl, and what does Neo mean? And I was like, well, you know Bitcoin? And he was like, bit what? As in Bitcoin? And he was like, never heard of it. I was like, well, have you heard of cryptocurrencies before? And he was like, no. And so the point of my story is that, like, we are all sort of very finely tuned when it comes to cryptos. Like it seems like it's everywhere. Hell, if you're interested in cryptos and you have a Facebook account, that's probably propagating that, because Facebook shows you what you want to see. Same with YouTube, etc., and Google. But yeah, basically, long story short, the public as a whole are not in this market. They may have heard of Bitcoin, but they're not actually investing in it. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense, and I'll see you in the next video.